My name is Elisa Houston and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notification bell so that you will be informed when I do post a new video. In today's video, you saw the title, Just Start. Just start. No matter what it is that you have been putting off starting, whether it's been your YouTube channel or documenting your journey, whatever journey you're on, whether it is starting a new business venture, whether it is reading a new book, starting a new routine, whatever it is, just start. Just start. It feels good to be back in this space. Let me just say that, because if you've been following my journey, then you know I have been on a roller coaster for quite some time now. Things have been up and down for me. But in this very room of my house that I am sitting in right now is where I started my YouTube journey and healing documenting my healing journey publicly, or period. It started in this very room that I am sitting in, that I am filming this video in, and I'm getting back to it. I do go live on my channel every Thursday. For those of you that follow me and that have been tuned in, you know that I go live on Thursdays at 7 p.m. So if you've not joined the live, or if you weren't aware, check me out on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Hop in on the conversations that we are having as it relates to healing and just life in general. You will not be disappointed. I promise you. We are building a solid community and it has been amazing. But today, I want you to start. Start whatever it is that you've been wanting to start. Whatever it is that you desire to start. Just start. I came across these notes in my notebook earlier as I was preparing for my next live. I was just looking back through my little journal and some of the topic ideas that I had. A lot of them were from 2023, last year, that I just did not get a chance to record, whether it was because I just wasn't in the space, or whatever reason. Like, I feel like we tend to make up many excuses as to why we haven't started or why we didn't start. And I am here today to tell you to just start. I was going through my notes, and this was actually a topic that I wanted to talk about, because I was watching a video during last year, and it was titled Start Where You Are, and it inspired me so much that I just started jotting down notes from my own experience as to what it looks like for me. And I remember the day that I sat, like I just said, in this very room, and I was talking to God, and I told God that I am ready for him to have his way. I surrender, and I asked him to just use me for whatever purpose he had for my life, that I just surrendered and just have your way. And I cried. I remember crying because in that moment, I felt God's presence so strongly. And I cannot remember a time where I had felt God's presence that strongly in my life. And I knew that he was communicating with me through that moment that I was having in this room, where I was telling him that I surrender. I feel like, he was happy that I was finally surrendering, and it was just so emotional for me, because I knew that the things that he wanted and desired for me to have I knew that it was going to be uncomfortable. I knew that I was going to be in spaces to where I felt I wasn't ready for his calling, or to, complete the tasks that he had placed before me. I knew that I was going to have to do a lot of things that I felt I wasn't ready to do, but God had already equipped me. He had already prepared me for this journey, and I didn't know it in that moment. Even though I've always had a feeling that I was supposed to be doing more than what I was doing in my life. Um, I always knew that I was supposed to have been doing something more, something bigger than what I was doing. And, you know, for that reason, I was fearful, because you know how it is when you're setting your ways and you're doing things that you've always done just out of being content, um, and being comfortable. Let's just be honest. Sometimes we get so comfortable in our ways and so comfortable in our journey that we don't want to move. We don't want to elevate because we know that it's going to require much more of us. So that's where I was. And I knew that I wanted to do more, and I knew that the calling God had for me was to do more. But I don't know, I really can't explain it. But like I said, as I sat in the room, and I cried and I felt God's presence, I that same night that I told God that I surrendered, and I've never told this story on my YouTube channel. I don't think that not a lot of people, or maybe even only a couple of people, even know this story. But the same night that I told God I surrendered and to have His way with me, I got a DM from a girl that I went to school with, and she has a company. She does conferences and things like that, and it had to have been at least, like, I say that night, but it was like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. I can't remember. If you're watching this, comment down below if you remember, and let the people know. But I know it had to have been at least 3 or 4 a.m. She said that God had put me on her heart, and it had been very strongly, and that she had been meaning to reach out to me to ask me to be a speaker at one of her events. And my heart was pounding. Like, my heart was pounding when I got the message. It was on Instagram. I had ran to my husband and I read the message to him, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't know why I'm so scared. And I was just telling him, like, remember I told you, like, I just had a conversation with God, and I was telling God that I surrender and to have His way. And I was like, and then I get this message and she's asking me to speak, and I've never done public speaking, and I'm just rambling and rambling. I'm going on and on because I'm nervous. And I'm like, okay, this is God moving me in the direction that He's like, you told me you were ready. You told me that you were going to surrender. And it was just, even when I think about it, like, and I go back to that moment in that space that I was in, to where I wasn't fully ready to surrender, but God knew what I needed, and He knew the plans that He had for me. And He knew that I wasn't going to move on my own time, so He had to move me. He had to move me in the direction in which He had for me to go. So I got the DM and I read it. I don't even know how many times I read the message, but I'm just like, oh my God, like, she want me to speak. Like, I've never spoken before. I've never, talked about my journey publicly. Like, I wasn't even ready for this. And I responded back to her message, and I can't even remember what I said. If I can find the message, if I still have the message, I'll put it on the screen. But because it had to have been at least 2 years ago. So I decided, like, I sat with that, I processed it, and I decided, okay, now is the time for me to start documenting and talking about my journey. And that was the start of my YouTube channel. That was how I got started. Because I felt that at least if I started talking about the spaces that I was in, and if I started talking about my journey, even though it's two different things, speaking on a camera and speaking in public, at a public event, are two totally different things. I felt like I just needed to start telling my journey, telling my story, talking about, what my healing journey looks like. And here I am. I just started. You cannot let things hold you back from starting. Whether it is, your hair, because a lot of times I did not hop on camera and record because my hair wasn't done, or the background wasn't right, or, I wasn't in a mental space. And God showed me, like, you just have to start with where you are and with what. I'm sorry, y'all, my camera died, but I started recording my YouTube videos on my phone. If you go back and watch some of my older videos, you will see that in a lot of my videos, the lighting was dark, and I probably was looking crazy, and you know, I didn't really know what I was gonna say or how I was gonna say it, and I was stuck in my head a lot. But I did not let those things stop me from starting, and I knew that I couldn't, because no matter how you look, I know that presentation means a lot. No matter how you look, whether your hair is done, whether your background is right, whether the lighting is right, the message is still the message, right? The message doesn't change. So the messages that God was putting in me, I literally was just hopping on my phone and recording them and posting them. And I feel like, that is what we need to focus on. If you feel like God has put you on a journey, or, put you in a space to where you know that He wants you to do certain things, you have to just do it. You cannot let anything hold you back from being obedient to God's word. And that is how 2 years later I am still on YouTube doing what I'm doing. That is how, when God told me to start going live on my channel, I was so nervous about it. I've shared this in plenty of my live videos, and I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I didn't know how I was going to look, how I was going to sound, but I started going live anyway. There were times where there were only maybe 2 or 3 people on the live videos, and I hopped on there and I was just as excited and just as enthused as I am when there are like 10 to 12 people, because it's still growing. My community is still growing, but I've been consistent in posting and in showing up over these 2 years. Like, I didn't quit. I remember, plenty of times where I felt like, people aren't watching or I'm not getting engagement, but people are watching. And I've gotten some great feedback on my channel and on my journey, and I know that I am helping God's children, which is what He's called me to do. I know that in sharing my journey and in sharing my testimony, it is helping you or someone on their journey. And I feel like that was a part of God's purpose for my life. I feel like that was a part of God's calling for my life. And I figured that if I could just get started on the channel, like, even though I felt I wasn't prepared, I knew that God was going to prepare me prior to getting on here. So just start with where you are, start with what you have, be organic and authentic. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Don't compare your journey to the next person's journey. Just be you. People are going to gravitate to the real you. They are going to gravitate when they know that it is organic, authentic. You're going to find your tribe. You're going to build your community. Just start. That is the message. Thank you for watching. I hope that this inspired you as well to just start something that you've been putting off. And until next time, peace and love. What I failed to mention in the beginning of this video was that Healing Out Loud had already been established, created and established. I knew that God wanted me to heal out loud. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. In fact, Healing Out Loud was actually established and thought of and created back in, I believe it was 2019. And I just didn't know, again, what that would look like for me as far as healing out loud. So that's what I mean by, I just kind of drug my feet on how to get started, because I didn't know how God wanted me to start this journey. That's why I say that I strongly believe that God will use people, to guide you on this journey, on this life journey. He will use people around you, people that you know, maybe even people that you don't know, to guide you into, living out, acting out, living in the purpose that He has called for you and the assignment that He has placed you on. So you have to be very intentional, very clear, very much present in your days and in your moments. You have to seek Him first. Like the Bible says, seek me first. So I feel like when I finally went to God and told Him that I surrender and I was ready for Him to have His way, He then led someone to guide me on how to start with Healing Out Loud. And I've been very intentional with this journey since I began. I have been seeking Him ever since. I have been including Him in all the plans that I've had for this journey first, and I'm learning to do that more and more. So yeah, I've been excited for the journey. I'm even more excited to see what more God has in store for me and for Healing Out Loud, for you that are tuned in, that are watching, that are with me on this journey. So I thank you guys for being here with me on this journey, for sharing your testimonies and your experiences. And if you could just comment down below and let me know what you have been dragging your feet on starting, what it is that, God has placed in your heart to do, what you feel like your calling is. And if you don't know how to start, just comment down below, engage with the community, seek God first and foremost, and God will definitely direct your path.